All right, today we are diving into one of literature's greatest tragedies, but we're going to look at it through a really interesting philosophical lens. We're talking about Frankenstein's creature and using his story to unpack some huge questions. Questions about potential, about trauma, and, what it even means to be a monster.
So, here's the big question we're tackling. Are monsters born or are they made? Was Frankenstein's creature doomed from the start, a bad seed? Or was he actually broken? Was he twisted into what he became by the world around him? That's what we're going to explore, breaking down his tragic story step by step.
Okay, let's dive right in. And to do that, we have to start at the very beginning, before the monster. We need to see him as a being just brimming with potential. So, the core idea here is that he was driven by something the philosopher Nietzsche called the will to power. Now, don't get hung up on the name. It's not about being a tyrant or dominating others. It's actually this really beautiful innate impulse we all have. The drive to grow, to create something new, to overcome challenges, and basically just make a positive impact. And this is so crucial to remember. When he first opened his eyes, he was, in his own words, benevolent and good. His first instinct wasn't hate or violence. It was connection. He just wanted to understand the world and be a part of it.
So what was the problem? Well, he was basically born into a world that wasn't ready for him. A society that philosophically acts like the last man. It's a world that's, scared. It shuns anything different, anything that challenges the status quo. It's all about playing it safe, staying comfortable. And our creature? He was the ultimate challenge to that.
And this is where the tragedy really kicks off. It starts the second he comes to life. But the first act of monstrosity doesn't come from him. It comes from the one person who should have been his guide, his protector. You see, Victor Frankenstein, his creator, doesn't look at him and see a new being, a child. He sees something uncanny, something horrifyingly familiar, like a distorted reflection of his own dark ambitions. And what does he do? He flees. Just pure ethical cowardice. I mean, just look at this contrast. It says it all, right? On one side, you have what a creator should be, a shepherd, a guide, a navigator. And on the other, you have what Victor actually was, a source of terror, the one who abandoned him from moment one.
And we have to be really clear about this. This wasn't just a snub. It was a profound developmental wound. Think about it. The very first experience he has of existence is total rejection from his creator. That one act basically set the trajectory for his entire tragic life.
So that's the first wound. Now let's look at how the rest of the world basically just kept pouring salt in it.
Psychologically, this creates an absolute nightmare scenario called disorganized attachment. Can you even imagine that? The single being you are tied to, your point of origin, is also the thing you are most terrified of. You can't run to them for safety, but you can't escape them either, because they're your creator. You're completely and utterly trapped.
And you can really see the downward spiral here. It's like a domino effect of trauma. First, he's abandoned by his creator. Then, society judges him purely on how he looks, his corporeal difference. That judgment turns into systemic cruelty. And the end result? A crushing, universal feeling of powerlessness. He literally had no one and nowhere to turn.
So what happens when that powerful innate drive to create and grow, that will to power, gets completely blocked? When it's met with nothing but rejection? Well, it doesn't just disappear. It curdles, it sours, it turns into something toxic. And there's a great philosophical term for this, ressentiment. It's basically a sense of spiteful hostility that's born from feeling completely powerless. You can't fix your situation, you can't overcome your oppressors, so what's left? You start to build your identity around hating them. Your misery becomes your mission.
And this is maybe the most tragic part of the whole story. Look at the potential versus the reality. He could have been what Nietzsche called an Übermensch, a being who overcomes his circumstances to create totally new, life-affirming values. Instead, he became a fiend, a destroyer. It's an absolute gut punch.
So you have to understand, his revenge spree wasn't just random chaos. It was actually his philosophical response to all this trauma. In a really twisted way, by hunting and tormenting Victor, he was forcing a connection. It was a form of psychological warfare, sure, but it was also the only way he could maintain any kind of bond with his creator.
But as you can probably guess, a path built on revenge and hatred doesn't lead to some kind of triumphant self-actualization. It leads to one place: total collapse.
This is his Untergang, a German word that literally means a going under or a descent. Now, sometimes a descent can be a good thing,
a necessary step to rise up stronger. But not here. For the creature, this was a one-way trip. It was a complete and utter failure to overcome his circumstances, resulting in his total destruction.
And here's the final bitter irony. In the end, he didn't overcome his creator. He didn't become something new and better. He became a twisted mirror image of the very man who rejected him. He embodied all of Victor's cruelty and neglect. He literally became the monster Victor imagined him to be.
So when he disappears into the ice at the end, that's not some monster getting its just desserts. No, that's the final act of a preventable tragedy. It's the heartbreaking conclusion to a cycle of monster making, a cycle fueled from start to finish by fear and neglect.
Okay, to really wrap our heads around this entire tragic story, there's a fantastic analogy. I want you to picture the creature as this incredible, magnificent ship. It's brand new and it's built with a seriously powerful engine. That engine, that's his will to power.
This ship has the potential to go on a legendary voyage, to discover new worlds. But the navigator, his creator, Victor, takes one look at it, panics, and immediately throws the compass overboard. And then, for good measure, he basically lights the whole vessel on fire.
And so what happens? The ship doesn't sink right away. It becomes a ghost ship, drifting without direction, crashing into everything it comes across. It just causes destruction everywhere it goes, until it finally breaks apart in the frozen north. A complete, total loss of what could have been.
Which really leaves us with just one question to think about, doesn't it? In this whole cycle of monster making, this chain reaction of fear and neglect, who is the real monster? The one who was made or the one who did the making?